Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you about a guy. From the grain to the glass, now that's an art. A little bit of science and a whole lot of heart. He heats up the kettle, lets the good times start. When it comes to craft, he's playing his part. Mash tun, steam, and brass section bright. Every little detail done just right. No shortcuts taken, no corners cut. He builds that flavor from the bottom up. Oh, and the bubbles rise and the tanks run clear. There's only one name you're gonna hear. Adam makes beer. Let's raise a glass right here. From the malt and the hops to the yeast and sear. Adam makes beer. Adam makes beer. Now give the band a cheer. Smooth as a tune in your left ear. Adam makes beer. He tracks every number steady and cool. Temperature tight, that's the rule. Fermented clean, let it rest just right. Golden and bright under soft spotlight. From a small time batch to a taproom show. They call him Mr. Ho Show, you know. Helping young brewers find their way. Building careers the classic way. And here's the twist that makes it clear. He crafts the finest far and near. He can't eat gluten, that's sincere. But he sure knows how to brew great beer. Oh, when the brass kicks in and the drums appear. There's only one name you're gonna hear. Adam makes beer. Go on and spread the cheer. From grain to glass, year to year. Adam makes beer. Adam makes beer. Now swing that atmosphere. Smooth and bold like a fine premiere. Adam makes beer. Simple things, but they mean the most. Here's to the craft, now here's a toast. Adam makes beer, the finest far and near. When you're building dreams, have no fear. Adam makes beer, Adam makes beer. That's the story clear. Now give it up for the man of the year. Adam makes beer. That's right. Adam makes beer.
That's right, everybody. We got another hit from Chauncey Skillups there with the big band version of the Adam Makes Beer theme song. Welcome to episode 94 of the Adam Makes Beer Industry Pro Podcast. Today, my guest is Joe Henkels of the Good Coffee Company. Just a couple bits of news before we get rolling today. Do make sure to jump over to adammakesbeer.com if you have questions about the content that I have going on, the blog posts, the merch store, anything as far as services, whether they be marketing, consult services, all that stuff is over there. So make sure to check out adammakesbeer.com. Also, I'm going to be at the Ohio Craft Brewers Association conference the 23rd through 26th of this month. It's going to be a good time. Make sure to get out there and see me. I'm going to be there attending. I'm going to be giving a talk on recipe creation. So looking forward to that. And ladies and gentlemen, speaking of things to be looking forward to, starting a brewery is a big step. Lichtman Engineering is here to help. Since 2006, they've equipped hundreds of nano breweries for success. Their new 3.5 barrel Pro Surface electric brewing system cuts maintenance and saves at least 30 minutes per brew day with powerful under kettle heating. From 1 to 15 barrel brew houses to keg washers and grain mills, Blickman has what you need. Ready to go pro? Contact Phil or Tom at Pro Series at blickmanengineering.com. Blickman Engineering is a proud sponsor of this channel and loves to help brewers at every stage of their journey. This podcast is also brought to you by Senos. Senos turns every tank into a smart tank with real-time fermentation data and analytics, all captured automatically. Ditch manual checks and coming in on the weekends. No more guessing, just clear, actionable insights that help you brew your best batch every time. Brewers use Senos to deliver consistent quality, prevent product loss, and scale with confidence. Brew smarter, waste less, profit more. Visit Senos.com to book a free demo. That's SENNOS.com. Senos, the future of fermentation technology. Joe Henkels is the son of God, husband, father, entrepreneur, coffee master, and running coach. He first fell in love with coffee in 2012. I'm swapping over here real quick, you guys. I'm trying out a new process. Oh, baby. We got two people on the screen. In 2018, he started roasting coffee at home, turning curiosity into obsession. In 2022, he made the leap into the industry full-time. Since then, Joe has worked across nearly every layer of the coffee business. He's partnered with more than 50 coffee shops, shipped coffee internationally. He's created and launched 5 different coffee brands, helped get coffee into grocery store shelves across Western Pennsylvania, and built e-commerce operations along the way. Joe, welcome to the podcast, man. How you doing?
Hey, thank you, Adam. I was not ready for the song at the beginning. That was impressive, and I'm still processing that. I think that was one of the best intro songs I ever heard.
All right, so I'm not gonna lie. That's the first time I've done this intro, and it had me sweating because of it's like a 2.5-minute song or like 3-minute song.
Yeah.
So I start getting nervous. You know what I mean? I started to perspire. I was wondering how that was going to play out. But yeah, so I have a buddy that is that tinkers around with some stuff like that, and he's made me a few different versions of a theme song, which I think is fun.
Yeah, that was wild. I was not ready for that song.
Well, listen, man, here's the deal. There's a lot of people out there that are coffee drinkers, potentially coffee dependent. Then there's coffee lovers. And then there's like the whole, there's kind of the whole line of you can go into like the connoisseur type range and everything like that. What does your daily coffee routine look like?
Yeah, so mine is, I always think it's simple, but then you talk to more people and it's less simple.
Yeah.
I have a espresso machine that I have a long black every morning. I specify long black because people often get Americanos and long blacks mixed up. And to be fair, I think this is true with a lot of coffee drinks, that a lot of people define the drink a little differently. So a long black is where you have hot water first, and then you put a shot on top of that. Where an Americano is you pull a shot and then do water on top of that shot. So it sounds like it's the same drink, but they oddly taste different. So
that's interesting. So for you, so the difference between that and the Americano, the reason you prefer it is what? What comes across
it tastes better
with that different process? Better how?
You can pull more of what the coffee is supposed to taste like. And so you just lose less of the original taste of that bean. And I think that's oftentimes the best mark of how you did making coffee that morning or whenever.
Sure.
Was how does that cup taste in comparison to how that coffee bean smells? Right? Because if whatever it smells like should transfer a bit to the cup. Yeah. And then if what you made smells and tastes wildly differently than what the bag smells like, then you might have done something wrong.
You bring up something that I think is interesting. When in the spirits world, there's the notion that there's certain spirits that it is acceptable to hit it with, a drop or two of water to help open it up.
Yeah, exactly. Like that. Yeah.
Different things like that. I know on the beer side, sometimes you can get a beer that's so intensely flavored, it's difficult to parse out. You know,
Mhm.
when you bring a lot of intensity to the table, sometimes it can be difficult to pull out nuance. So by doing the technique that you're talking about, do you feel as if you were just to drink that as like a straight espresso shot, you wouldn't be able to pull the full nuance out of that beverage than you would with the way that you prefer to make it there?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think you get more time to taste it. So like
Mm,
where a shot is 2 ounces, you can probably pull a lot of the same notes out of it, but it
mhm,
might take an extra minute. And then, a few sips and those 2 ounces are just gone. So
mhm,
in the morning, I would like at least like a 6-ounce beverage to
mhm,
slowly sip on.
mhm,
But I am with you on the taste side. Um, yeah, like being able to pull that out and just see, you would probably miss some of the intricacies if you hadn't
mhm,
added just a little bit of water. And I'm not even saying like a mug full of coffee. We're still
sure.
talking about a 6-ounce drink, so half of a
Mhm,
normal mug.
mhm.
But that little bit of water does help open it up. I'd never thought of it quite like that with beer. I've done it with whiskey before, but not with beer.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and not so much like diluting the beer or anything like that, but sometimes I feel like I've had some big, rich, super intense beers, and it's
Yeah.
almost like, gosh, it's almost hard to sort it all the way out, you
Kinda
know?
like hits you and it like,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
like a shot of espresso can kinda hit you. And then if it's been over extracted, then the bitterness might even just wash away every other note.
Mhm,
Which that happens with a lot of coffee. I think the name of the game in coffee is variable control, and that goes from
mm,
when the coffee's planted all the way until it's in your cup. There's just variables everywhere, and so
yeah.
how do you kind of take those out? How do you, set some steadies so you play with some variables but keep others the same? It's like a middle school science class, basically.
Sure, sure. Do you have do you have strong opinions on
Always.
the u on the usage of sweetener and cream?
Um,
There's
no,
no wrong
yeah,
answer here,
there's
by the way.
no, honestly, not that strong of an opinion. I think cream has its place. I think there's a line. I did a video on this that you may not have watched, but I was trying to figure out, when does a drink stop becoming a coffee drink? And when does it just
Mm.
become like milk with a little bit of coffee in it? And so I was trying I was trying to figure out what that percentage was. Like at what percentage is this cup no longer coffee? And you're just kind of, like you have some milk in it. But the person that pours a 12-ounce cup of coffee in the morning and puts like a dash of whatever creamer in it,
Yeah.
that kind of makes sense to me. I would argue that if you need to sweeten or add flavorings, you're just buying a coffee that kind of needs that. Like if I'm drinking a bad coffee or like a
Mhm,
coffee that's been over roasted,
mhm,
you better believe I add a little bit of cream to it just to
mhm.
make it palatable. But
Sure.
um, generally, I'm kind to those people. I've I feel like there's a point where you work in coffee long enough where you either decide to fight till you die on some subjects, or you realize that the coffee drinking world is not just a bunch of coffee snobs drinking
Sure.
geishas and single origins and paying $40 a bag. And
Right?
that's like such a
Well,
small piece of the market. I'm sure there's a beer side of this as well. That's like,
this isn't the exact same thing, but when I used to be far more dogmatic when I got into the professional side of the brewing industry,
yeah,
and I remember for some reason the bartenders were just really into like mixing the beers, like blending the beers and then giving them to people. And there's a period of time where that really irked me. But after that, I kind of hit the point, and I still do see like my point behind that. So like we would take this red ale that we would make, and it was caramely and a little toasty. And then I had this IPA that was built to be crisp and dry. And sometimes people would blend those things together. And I would say to myself, if I wanted to serve a sweet IPA, I would make a sweet IPA. But then as the years go by, maybe the flames burn a little lower.
Yeah.
And I kind of changed the idea. If it's like, okay, if they want to do a half and half beer, as long as they pay for both halves, I'm fine with it.
I'm okay with it.
You know what I mean? And
yeah. There's like a piece of this too that I think about. Like you can kind of buy or roast coffee based off of what it's going to be used for, which, so example, like if there's a coffee shop that I was working with that, almost every coffee they sold had a lot of milk and some flavoring. Yeah. And so that did dictate like, well, what coffee do you want to use? And I was like, you don't even really want to use a medium roast from any of these countries because it's not going to really be able to hold up, because you've lost all the nuances. So now what you're going for is just this like generic coffee taste. Therefore, like you can handle a lower quality bean, still a high quality, but we'll say lower in the high end arena, and roast it a bit darker and save a couple bucks, blah, blah, blah. But like people are just dumping sugar in it. So why would you put the expensive coffee in that? Like, so you can tailor it. I don't think it's about necessarily like condemning or controlling the consumer as much as it is adapting the product and you're offering to your people. I think that's the like biggest thing, is just helping the consumer be as educated as possible, and then they're free to make whatever choice they want, and then align a product with that person that they can be happy with. Which is so much of coffee currently, because there's no shortage of any type of coffee. Like if you wanted the best of the best, we can go get it. If you want commercial grade, mass market, mass roasted, you can get it. In 2026, anything is achievable.
Sure. When you are out and about, you're traveling. So do you travel with coffee?
Yes.
Hey, now listen. There's no need. The tone dropped when you said that. You don't need to do that.
Because I was thinking about.
Go ahead.
Thinking about like, so it depends the requirement. So as we said earlier, I'm a dad, I'm married. If I have to supply coffee for other people, you better believe I'm traveling with coffee, right? Yeah. But if I'm going on like a 1 day, 2 day trip and I'm by myself, I might not travel with any coffee, because running down to, I sell coffee. I'm not like, people say I'm a coffee snob. I'm not purely convinced yet, but like I will go downstairs to the hotel and grab coffee and then be on my way. And so the idea of like packing coffee, I'm just like, no, there's like, there's multiple pieces going into your luggage. And if you just have a carry-on, but caveat, if I'm traveling with other people and I know that, family vacations, other trips, longer trips, then yes, I'm bringing coffee. If I'm driving somewhere, there'll be coffee. Yeah.
So this kind of is leading me to a point, but when you are out traveling, you don't have any coffee on you and you're rolling by Dunkin' Donuts, Starbucks, Panera, any other like drive-through coffee thing. Okay. Is there will you go and hit up those places? Do you have the one that you prefer over another? And what do you even order when you go to a place like that? In big picture, what I'm thinking of is I want to transition from having a conversation about the brands that people know as coffee, and like what are some of those differences between the raw material that they're using and stuff like that. So
Sure.
kind of through that lens.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I mean, I won't go through every single chain and like, hey, this is what I ordered at each chain, but I mean, we can do that.
No, but just like one that you're like, okay, yeah, this works.
So
where it's like,
so
it'll scratch the itch.
Yeah, if I can do like just a medium roast from Dunkin', just black in a cup, like that's actually not bad. Like if I have to drink one coffee just in a normal cup of coffee black, honestly, Dunkin's medium roast probably wins.
Nice.
If I'm at Starbucks, I will try to do their blonde roast, because even their blonde roast is probably as dark as what we sell as a medium, maybe even like, I mean, I've one dark roast that I've never compared it to their blonde roast, but I bet it's pretty close.
Sure.
And so I just want something not like torched to death. So their blonde roast in some capacity. And then if it's the afternoon, I'm a little anti Italian in this way. I will do like afternoon drinks with a little bit of milk in them, because I've already eaten. Like I don't want to have milk hitting my system as the first thing at 8 a.m. So I might have black coffee, but then by lunchtime, I might add a little bit of milk. So at Starbucks, a flat white is good with the blonde espresso. I remember whenever they introduced the blonde espresso as an offering in 2017, I forget, but yeah. And then anywhere else I will go, if it's bad and I'm in an airport, I look for a super automatic espresso machine, because I know that a barista, no matter their training, can't really mess up brewing it. So if I'm in an airport and I see this big old, Eversys machine, I will go up and order a shot, because I know that someone's just going to walk up and press a button,
hit the button,
and it's going to be good. So that's the short, long answer.
Sure. So when the average person who doesn't really know the ins and outs of coffee, we're kind of talking like this higher end, or kind of through our lens, kind of like a craft lens on coffee. What is kind of the dividing line between the coffees that we can get at any main coffee place? Is there actually difference in raw materials as well as roasting, or is it one or the other?
Both. So the raw material, there are nuances in this. So if anybody listening is like a uber coffee nerd, I'm going to generalize a little bit. But all the green coffee is given a score before it's sold, before it's roasted. And so that's from, low 50s all the way up to 100. Okay. No coffee is scoring really above 90. There are some, but they'll be $50 a bag. And so specialty coffee is loosely defined as 80 points and up. And then what I'd say like commercial coffee is in that like 70 point area. The other weird part is there's a huge difference between a 78 and an 82. Those are like massively different coffees. And so whenever you're roasting coffee a little darker, you can hide a lot more things as well. So if you're buying a light roast coffee, you're going to get more of that original taste from the bean and less, for lack of a better word, like less fire. So like heat and fire roast the beans. The lighter the coffee, the less fire you will taste. So the bigger box stores will buy a lower grade coffee and roast it darker. And that's so that the taste is the same, no matter if you buy it at Sam's Club or in their store, it'll all kind of taste the same. So there are lots of benefits to roasting a bit darker, and by their quality control is very high. They care very much about you getting the consistent product, but that product is a little dark and kind of like a low quality. And so then there's another arena that I would say I live in right now, which is specialty coffee, and not being too concerned with the crazy high end, crazy expensive coffees out there. Like you can get into some like African geisha coffees and geishas of a variety of coffee plant. Like you can get into some crazy coffees, and they can, be fermented with strawberries, for Pete's sake, and they can taste amazing. But where I've really spent most of my time is like, what can we logically sell to a lot of people that can enjoy ethically sourced coffee? Because that's the other piece of this. With bigger box stores, coffee can get unethical pretty quick. And so not accusing anybody on the podcast, but they if you want to be a little bit more sure that the supply chain is clean and ethical, then specialty coffee actually is a great place to do that. I mean, more people should really see the coffee industry that way. And so where I am is like 80 point coffee up to, I would say, like 89. And so what you get there is you can roast it dark if you need to, but you can also leave it light, and you can basically play with this coffee in so many different ways during the roasting process that you can unlock flavors and profiles and different things in a way that you can't do with a lesser quality bean. Roasting will never fix a low quality green coffee bean. So if the raw product isn't that good, roasting is not going to fix it.
Can I interrupt you real quick?
Of course.
The line on the brewing side of things is sometimes when you make a beer that's bad, there's some people that want to say, well, just throw some fruit in it. Fruit will cover it up. It's like, no, it's just a bad fruit beer. Right. Yeah. So it is funny to hear. It
still exists. Like in the coffee world, it's like, it's still a bad bean. You just roasted it darker. You just taste. So one of the best things we'll say like big companies did was they got the coffee consumer used to like just burnt coffee, like over roasted coffee. So like the difference between like your local coffee shop and Starbucks is the quality of the raw product. And then and I don't even I did a clip about this because I think Starbucks gets a lot of hate, and again, you shouldn't go there, but I just will never come out like they shouldn't have existed, or it's like I wouldn't have a job if like they hadn't introduced America like to better coffee. So nowadays, I only in like a dire situation and am I there, but like that
makes sense. So let's dig into a little bit of the agricultural side stuff that we were kind of circling around here a little bit, because I have a very low level understanding of kind of the production side. For some reason, I feel as if I'm mixing up elements of cocoa production, of like chocolate production, and the coffee side of things. So let's kind of just walk through that. First of all, on the beer side, there are lines of longitude that hops grow best in, and they're in the northern hemisphere, and they have a corresponding area in the southern hemisphere, and it's purely just environmental factors that are conducive to hop agriculture. I don't see. I've lived in Michigan and now southern Ohio for a little bit. I've yet to see any coffee installations, operations going on around those places. Talk to us a little bit about what part of the world
Yep.
That's where those things go down, and kind of walk us through that a little bit.
Yep, sure. So there's an area around the earth called the coffee belt. You can see it's the wraps the equator, and you basically go north and south of that, and that's where coffee grows. It needs temperature, it needs hotter temperatures, and then at the same time you really need mountains. I mean, you can grow it not in the mountains, but it really needs the elevation as well. So then you find these like very specific areas that has the right weather, which is in the belt, and then at the same time, has the right right soil, right elevation, and that's why you can have coffees in Costa Rica, and then you jump across, and then it's like, oh, there's also coffees over in Vietnam and in Africa, and it's like because they're all on the same latitude. So that's the simple answer. Just follow those latitudes, and you'll find the coffee farms. So then you get into the conditions, and elevation plays an interesting piece that I think it's fascinating when you look at a coffee plant, because to simplify like a book, you can basically, the harder the plant has to work to live and survive and produce cherries, the coffee is going to taste better. And so by restricting the oxygen that plant has, it actually produces more flavorful cherries, which is fascinating. And then even we won't get into the varieties of Arabica coffee, but you have Robusta coffee and Arabica as like two large families. And that's the other thing. The big box players will use Robusta 100 times more than any small time guy would. Robusta can be found in specialty coffee, especially now, but that's a tangent that we won't get into right now. Sure. So you have those two strains, and again, Arabica is said to be superior because it makes better cherries, therefore better coffee, but it's way more fickle. So it's easier to plant it poorly. It takes 5 years for it to even produce any fruit. So you can't just plant a coffee farm and be harvesting the next year. It takes another 5 years, 3 to 5 years, depending on the plant. And then when it grows, it again, depending on which one you planted, it could produce X number of coffee cherries. But then on the flip side, you could plant a Robusta and you might get 10 times as many cherries. And so you could sell a lot more coffee. Yeah. But it's not going to have the same enjoyable taste. I'll generically say. So Robusta beans, hardier, they grow faster, they grow thicker, easier to grow, easier to, eat. They're just easier. But Arabica, why it got such a hot, I don't know when it came on the scene, but why it got so hot was just because it just tastes so much better. Sure. But it's a fickle plant. And so then all of a sudden we get to this arena where you have this international business relying on these fickle plants that are prone to everything. So the current, I'll tell you, like our Nicaraguan coffee currently is a varietal. It's a Caturra varietal, and it's been hybrid raised to resist leaf rust. And so you get into all these which varietals will keep away these different things. And because if you have fields go down in coffee plants, it affects everyone's prices across the world. So it's a wild supply chain, and it's crazy how every country plays off of every other country. Like a drought in Vietnam changes everything. I mean, it'll affect the price of Colombian coffee.
Hey, so I might ask a couple questions that are a little bit of minutia, and if you don't have a good answer for it, don't sweat it, because we we talk about that all the time on the podcast. Like we can't know everything about everything.
Yep.
But just out of curiosity, is this like a high? Do coffee plants require like a high level of precipitation? Do they suck up a lot of water, or do they need it to be drier?
They need you need both, and that's the challenging part. I mean, that's where I don't know how much water they necessarily need.
Mhm,
So
mhm.
that's kind of an area I'm like, I don't know. I know
Sure.
that drying is a big deal. And so
Mm,
like you need moisture, but you need it to be dry. I don't know what that line is,
sure,
like how
sure.
much dry, but even if you look at how coffee is processed and taken from cherry to seed,
Mhm.
it has to dry. Like
Yeah,
there can't be that much
yeah,
moisture before packing it up. So
yeah.
I like, but then at the same time, I've heard of, droughts have killed crop. I mean,
Sure.
it's like right in the middle. I mean,
Yeah,
it's everything I've heard is like, it needs both. And that's
yeah.
frustrating and makes
Yeah,
it
yeah, no, no,
difficult.
no, that's fine.
Yeah.
So we've been using the terminology of like the coffee cherry.
Oh yeah.
And
Yep.
so when do you know that that bean or that cherry is ready to be picked? Is it actually tied to the ripeness
Yeah.
of the fruit
Yes.
itself?
Yep.
I'm assuming if it goes too long,
Yep.
is there impact at that point too? So is there a window there with that
Yep.
needs to be
There's a
harvested?
window.
Mhm.
It's like any other fruit. Like there's peak harvesting time. If you're listening, or like Google, coffee cherries, and they'll go
Mhm.
from green to red, and then they'll just keep getting red until they're purple, and then they're eventually bad. And
Yeah, yeah,
so there is this peak time. And what the other thing that brings up is like, okay, well, when do you go out and pick the coffee cherries? And
yeah.
so the another difference between what I would say is like commercial coffee versus this like fourth wave specialty coffee, really
Mhm,
third wave and fourth wave, is that you have people hand picking the coffee.
mhm.
And so you have families, you have co-ops, you have these groups of people going into the field and actually hand picking the ripe ones and not picking the ones that are underripe. And
Sure.
so they can go back later and actually pick those at a different time, where the commercial guys will. This is actually a pretty cool video. I wouldn't drink this coffee, but it's a cool video.
Mhm.
They will essentially connect a machine to the tree and just shake it like crazy,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah,
catch
yeah.
all the cherries. And you get, not to be gross, but like you get everything out of that tree. It's like
Sure.
you get the ripe, you get the underripe, you get the insects, you get leaves, like you get a lot of stuff. I'm not saying that's in
Yeah,
your
yeah.
coffee, but like
Sure, sure.
you just get everything. And
Yeah.
so and they do a pretty good job again getting the riffraff out. But I'd much rather have, one of these families that we work with walking through, picking only the ripe cherries, bringing them back
Sure.
to the mill. So
Sure. Does that just because we're using the terminology cherry, like is that part actually like an edible fruit for
you can eat
us?
it. You can eat it.
Is
Yeah,
it
yeah.
do
You can
people
eat it.
does it taste like a cherry?
No, it's like it is much tartar. It's like a very, very
Mm,
tart fruit.
yeah.
Um, that was that's the old like folklore, is like how we discovered coffee was like goats were eating these coffee plants, and
Yeah.
the shepherd noticed that they were going crazy.
Yeah.
And so they realized that they were caffeinated.
Yeah.
And but no, they were not a human food.
Sure. Sure. Okay, so we have the cherry being picked.
Yep.
What does that process look like?
After
Going
they're picked.
from post pick into would it be referred to as like the green or the raw bean? What would that what's the
Yeah,
language
going
around
from
that?
like cherry to like a green bean
Yeah,
is
yeah,
kind
yeah,
of a
yeah.
generic way to put it. If you want to do more of your own research and reading, there are three processes that I would go through.
Hmm.
One is washed, one is natural, and one is honey processed. Honey
Okay.
processed has no honey in it. It is just
Uh-huh.
a hybrid between washed and natural.
Okay.
So all those three terms have videos. They have it's a good time. Most of the coffee that you and I drink will be washed.
Mm-hmm.
It's what it sounds like. It goes through a wet mill.
Mm-hmm.
The coffee cherry fruit is taken off. The membrane around that seed is also taken off. It is rinsed and then laid out to dry. And it again is laid out to dry in pavilions and fields and lots of different places. And so that's washed. There's a lot of water. So then you flip that, and the opposite of that would be natural, which is that you do nothing besides you harvest the cherries and you lay them out in the same way you would with the already washed beans. So you have cherries just laying out, and then they're essentially raked and rotated, but the fruit actually just decays off of the seed.
Yes.
And so then once they're dry enough, then they get packed up. So that's whenever there's not much water, that doesn't need to be wet milled. And then the hybrid is where it's called honey, and you wash the cherry fruit off, but the membrane around the seed stays on.
Mm-hmm.
But then you put those out and you lay them out and you dry them out with the membrane still on. So again, those are three generic things. The washed coffee tends to be a little bit of a cleaner taste, as crazy as that sounds, a little bit crisper. And then if you're drinking a coffee and it just is like just a punch of fruit, like it hits you. It's like, whoa, this is like just blackberries. And not just like me or someone that drinks a bunch of coffees.
Yeah.
Anybody can taste this. And so that might be a naturally processed coffee. And so, yeah, I've always thought the naturally processed should get more love because it's pretty wild, but it's a different taste. It doesn't taste the same as washed, but anyway. So those are the three processes as like a general overarching process.
Yeah, and then you started. So you've both roasted. You've roasted at home.
Yeah.
I know. And when we were having our pre-podcast call, one of the things. I mean, there's so many things that go together for middle-aged hobbies. But guys got,
I was like 20. I was like,
well, I'm just saying, this may be some warning signs for what's coming up, because it's a lot of times it's home brewing, it's home roasting, it's barbecue. You might be making your own smoker.
Got that
some different things.
Yeah. Got your Blackstone out there. I mean,
exactly.
Okay, so I actually didn't tell you this in the pre-show. I did brew 2 batches of homemade beer before I ever did roasted coffee.
See? My son, my 22-year-old just started home brewing, which was sweet. I was just up in Michigan for his wedding, and he's such a sweet kid. This is a total aside, but the two of us are gluten-free, right? And so he got some sorghum extract that he could use, and he loves like sour and tart beverages, so like the funky hard ciders that you can get and whatnot. He loves all that wild stuff, and so he made a gosa, which is just a small tart, usually wheat based beer, but he did it with sorghum. And so he's young, and he's just gotten into it. And it was the night before the wedding. He went out with his buddies. They had a very tame time, and this is how big of a sweetheart he is. He called me at like 10:30, and he's like, "Hey Dad, the bachelor party is over. I have this bottle of beer that I want to share with you. Can I swing over by the hotel?" And I'm like, "Yeah, man." And so he's sitting at the foot of our bed, and we're splitting this beer. My wife, we're all chatting. It was a sweet thing. So anyways, that was great. That's one of my heartwarming things. But anyways, so you did some home roasting.
We did home roasting, and it came back to like I just knew too much about getting into coffee, and I knew that I was already making espresso every day. That was already like my main form of coffee.
Hmm.
And I was honestly buying, Aldi coffee beans,
Yeah.
and just I did as good as you can possibly do to make those beans taste good. And
Sure.
it wasn't bad. Um, but yeah, like for like birthday and Christmas, you would like buy yourself like a nice bag of coffee, and
Yeah.
then you
Yeah.
just like savor every shot that you had with it.
Yeah.
And it was actually my wife's fault. She found this little, home roaster from, gosh, it was like Nescafe or something.
There you
I'm not
go.
kidding. Like
I love it.
and it was at like a thrift store. And yeah, and then I got it, and it came with some really old stale green coffee. I didn't know any better, so I just roasted it anyway. And I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, that wasn't very good, but that wasn't that great. And then I started finding local contacts to buy green coffee from. And then, when you roast coffee, I mean, it's so good. It's like when you roast your own coffee, you
Yeah.
can't even really mess it up. Like
Hmm.
this is where I would say brewing your own beer and roasting your own coffee might take a detour right here.
Okay. Okay.
Because like you really can't mess up roasting your coffee all that much. Like
Yeah.
just watch it. Just like look at the color. Does
Yeah.
that color look good? Does it look like that would taste good?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that's pretty much it. And
Yeah.
so like the study just came out that was like, the biggest decider if you enjoy the coffee is if you look at the bean and think like, oh, that looks good.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
like the roast level, I'm like, just start roasting, get a popcorn popper, get a little home roaster.
Yeah.
The dream that will never happen is that everybody starts to roast coffee in their house. But
Yeah.
that
I like
would
that.
be,
That's your dream. I
I
like
I would
that. I like that.
absolutely love that. I think it's a hurdle for everybody. It's not, it's tough. Like you have cleanup, you have,
Sure.
you're only roasting 5 ounces of coffee at a time.
Sure.
And, now we roast on, 40-pound roasters or even
Yeah.
more,
Yeah.
and like 100-pound roasters. And then, so you do have to like do a lot of roasting, but the quality is just so good. It's just
Yeah.
such a good, yeah. The
Yeah.
beer that I
Is there?
made was good, but it
Yeah.
wasn't as good as the coffee I made.
Well, I tell you what, you beat me out because some of the first beers I was making, and maybe even some of the ones a little bit further down the line, Well, and it's also one of those things where I always found that when I first got into home brewing, I also got into judging and competitions and whatnot, and
Mhm.
I wanted to be an amazing judge, like as fast as possible.
Mhm.
And so usually that just means, oh, I'm going to read everything I can read.
Yep.
I'm going to consume everything knowledge wise, and then I'm just going to be there. And then there's the frustration of realizing that experience is required, right?
Yep.
You just can't, smash through things,
Yeah.
and then, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
sometimes time, yeah,
You have
yeah.
to taste so
Sometimes
many
there's
things.
times, yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
like I would my knowledge has changed over the past years,
Mhm,
like a bit,
mhm.
but like I knew like you can book know a lot of things, but until
Yes,
you've just started tasting coffee, started playing with things, dealing with
sure.
people individually, like you can't teach time.
Yeah, yeah. Do you feel like your approach or viewpoint on coffee has evolved over time?
Yeah.
You can go ahead. I kind of have like a lens through it, like because when I mentioned before, like kind of being more I was more dogmatic earlier on. Now, don't get me wrong, I still think that there's the right way to do
Yep.
certain
Yep.
things. Like personally, like if you go to Germany and you get like a nice, beautiful Hefeweizen, I don't think you need to be throwing a slice of orange in it. You know what I mean? But
Yeah,
that
yeah, yeah, yeah.
do that
That makes
over
sense.
here in the US.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
Yeah, that's the same. Like that's the same. I think like the fun part of coffee ultimately is like there's really nothing, there is no right and wrong. Like
Mhm.
there is no like this is absolutely incorrect.
Yeah.
I can make jokes about that. I mean, there's lots of things
Sure,
that I think are incorrect. At the end of the day, though, like if you wake up and you are excited about your cup of coffee, at the end of the day, like you're not wrong. I mean, we can make it better, but it doesn't mean you're wrong. And so the like right and wrong piece, there are some gray lines there. Like that statement is lined with a little bit of gray. I was like, I don't know any scenario that like a French roast is right. Like I don't, there's a certain like darkness of coffee bean that I'm like, I don't know if it's ever right to roast a bean that dark.
Sure.
That's a line, but like people enjoying their coffee, putting, and that was what I was talking about earlier with like, when does the drink become not a coffee drink? Right. Cause I think that's the other line. It's like all these drinks are exciting, but if there's a line, like if it's like, if it's a 20-ounce beverage and you have an ounce of coffee in there, I'm like, oh man, maybe that's the line. Like maybe that's the line for that is wrong.
Or maybe if the beverage is 600 calories.
Yeah.
Or
like,
something
well,
like
then
that.
then you're getting into like desserts. It's like,
and dessert's great. Absolutely.
Dessert's great. And that's where like you get into, it's like what they say on the packaging of like a drumstick ice cream cone. It doesn't say this is ice cream. It says like this is a frozen dessert.
Yeah.
And so
you're absolutely right.
It's not ice cream. It's not ice cream anymore. It's a frozen dessert. So it's kind of similar like with coffee. It's like, this isn't coffee anymore. This is a dessert.
This is a coffee flavored dessert. Yeah.
But generally like there is no like right and wrong. I think I mostly just look for, oh, this is exciting. I can show you something. Like this will be fun to like show this to you, because it's so applicable to everybody's life for the most part that there's always a conversation. There's always a, what do you like? What do you dislike? What are you brewing? Sure. Everybody's always looking for like an answer on something coffee related. My favorite though is whenever people that don't drink coffee apologize for not drinking coffee. And And I have the same exact answer every time. I'm like, it's okay. Like this is a drug. I was like, you don't have to apologize to me for like, I'm not addicted to this drug. I was like, that's probably better. Like you're probably better off not drinking this. From
the beer aspect, it always made me feel so terrible. Somebody's invited me over to their house, like our families are getting together. They're making food that I didn't buy. Okay, so they have food, they have drinks, they're providing their home and yard to us, and then they want to give me a beer and they apologize for the beer they have. And it's like, no, like this is so counter to like what hospitality is. Fine. Give me, yes, that's perfect. Thank you. Thank you. Right.
Like, because that's true. Like, look, if I'm at your house, I probably want coffee.
Sure.
Like, please offer me the coffee. Anyone listening to this, please offer me the coffee. Like, please just offer me the coffee. The only time, I'll just tell you this because it's funny. I'm like, the only time that I cringe, like there's a moment that I would cringe, and it would be if someone pulled out like a French roast with like a really dark coffee with like a French press. There's a lot. That's probably my line. Like
that would be too much for you.
You could put it away. It's okay.
What is the problem with that roast of coffee with that it's just too dark device?
It's just too dark. Like any coffee that's just burned to it's just too dark.
There's not enough milk in the world.
There's just not enough. I mean, that's a good point. I mean, like if I'm doctoring it, like if you're like, oh, this is like an after dinner drink. Here's like, you can, here's some milk. I'm like, okay, I still might drink it, to be fair, but the French press is like this weird. I'm gonna make a video on this soon because it just drives me insane. It's like this like loved brewing method, and I finally discovered how to make decent coffee with it. And that was after like being in coffee full time for years. And you actually don't plunge the coffee ever. Like you never press it. Don't press it down.
Okay.
It's almost because as soon as you press it, there's things happening, and like you're
Is it like an
exciting the
extraction
coffee at the
thing at
bottom.
that point?
It's an extraction thing. And then the
Yeah.
other piece of this is, and this is just me, this is purely Joe. This doesn't have to be you.
Yeah.
I really like when there's, aside from espresso, which there's no paper involved,
Uh-huh.
in every other brew method, AeroPress, pour over, French press, anything else, I really like paper being involved in that like brewing process,
Really?
because paper does such a great job straining things out that when you get a French press and like the bottom half is like that, like
That mesh.
smudge stuff.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's been sitting in the water just over extracting for
Sure.
20 minutes.
Sure.
And so what you're going to drink is just bitter.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, but I will say, if you have a French press and you want to try this, I recommend it. Like, don't brew the coffee normal. Don't touch it. Then like slowly put the metal strainer on the top. And then again, like don't move it, like bring your cup over to it and then slowly like pour it out, keeping all the coffee grounds in. But you'll notice that a lot of the coffee grounds naturally go to the bottom and you want them to stay there. So all that you're holding on the top is like the floaties. Okay.
Yeah.
So the more you disrupt that container while it's brewing, the more chaos you're going to put into the water. So,
Sure.
and you do this, and it's essentially treating a French press like you would cupping coffee, which is how you taste new coffees. You will cup them, which you can look up a picture of cupping coffee, which is like a table with all the white cups, and you're slurping the coffees and different things. You're essentially treating the French press like you're going to cup it.
Okay.
Sounds weird, but that's the only way that I would.
Sure. The only way you'd rock with the French press.
That I would run that brew method.
For sure. So, okay. So we have a green bean. What is there when the bean is in that stage, is there a shelf life on it? I'm assuming there is, but I know sometimes when we talk about like the actual finished roasted bean itself, we have some windows of time that we want to be consuming that in. What is kind of that shelf life on the green bean, appropriately stored, we'll say, like the appropriately stored raw material?
Right. Generally you have about a year. I mean, you might be able to go longer than that. You know, if stored incorrectly, it might be shorter than that. The general framework is last year's crop is now bad. So you always need to be dealing with the current year's crop is the short answer. So like if what'll end up happening is you start getting this like woody, like bark taste, just from existing, just from sitting in sacks, it will start to go bad. So, it's a great time though to buy it off somebody cheap and roast it really dark.
Yeah.
And so like there, pros and cons. If you're going after flavor alone, then you don't want that coffee. And then if you're looking for a deal, you could buy that coffee theoretically.
Absolutely. So from a process standpoint, you are these beans are grown, they're dried cleaned appropriately, and then shipped over to you. So you are roasting here in the United States.
Yep.
Okay. And then so that's kind of the beginning of the chain of things on your side.
Yep.
I had seen some things. Is there anything as far as roasting that you wanted to dive a little bit further into? Because I have some questions on like packaging coffee and things like that too. Some things that I've seen, but was there anything else that you wanted to dip into on the roasting side?
No, I mean, not too much. I think it goes back to like, if you have good green coffee, then roasting it shouldn't be all that difficult to get a pretty great product out of. In 2026, there's a lot of resources and there's a lot of great coffee roasters, and the equipment is also much easier to use. And so part of me is like, that's the part of the supply chain that I honestly stress the least about, because if we did our job in the beginning, then the roasting is just, hey, take this great product and just don't mess it up. So now not messing it up means like your roaster's clean, you have all the settings set correctly. So you have, again, basic roasting, you have heat and you have movement and the air is moving, and you have the beans are being roasted like a moving oven, and you have different ways of heating that oven. You have gas, you have electric. Even within gas, you have actual flames, and then you have more of a infrared roasted. And so you can play with all those things. At the end of the day, I think infrared roasting is exciting, but there's an art form within drum roasting and in a gas drum roasting that there's almost this beauty in it's consistent, but it's not quite as consistent as a infrared or like a hot air fluid bed roast would be. Some would argue that the drum roasted with fire underneath it just adds more character to the coffee.
So let me bounce something off you, man, because there's some similarities on the beer side. So when I get a crystal malt, so a crystal malt is malted barley that has essentially had the starch inside of it converted to sugar already. It's non-fermentable sugar, but so I can pop that in my mouth and chew on that, and it will taste sugary, caramely, depending on how dark that is. Okay, so it's actual sugar inside there. When I get a crystal malt from someone like Simpson's, which is a UK maltster, and I get it'll be done to Lovabond. So you'll have a crystal 20, 40, 60, 80, 100, and it's just darker and darker and darker. When I look at the crystal 40, I swear I can see some 40, some 20, some 60. You know, like you can see a range, right? And now the color of that malt is averaged out. It's averaged out, but it's not as precise. I can go and get like a domestic crystal malt, and I can look at it, and every single kernel is the exact same color, right? And so now you can make beautiful beer with both of those things, right? But there's some cases where I want to actually use the malt that I know naturally has a little bit more of an arc of flavor potentially, right? Is that similar to what you're referencing right there, or is it kind of off base a little bit? Obviously, we're not talking sugar, but just the concept,
some people will basically live and die by one of them is better than the other. And I would say that is an area that I've become this isn't that critical. I'm like, it still comes back to the green bean. It's like, still like, if you pick this roast method, great. Really what we're seeing is the energy efficiency being emphasized more. So like, switch to this electric roaster because you don't have heat, fire, and gas involved. But because then at the same time, there are now gas roasters that I would say do as good or better than the counterpart. So it's kind of this like, it's tough. It's a tough place to like pick but it is similar. It's like you do have to kind of figure it out. Still, again, most of the coffee that you and I are drinking all roasted the same way, like hot drum rotating over fire. Like that's pretty much everything we're currently drinking. But there's a lot of bigger players coming out that are, introducing better roast methods. Cause again, it comes back to consistency and like, how do I get the heat into this bean evenly? Some might even say less acidic if you do it correctly. So yeah, but the
I'm
character of like
curious.
drum roasted.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm. You mentioned kind of one of the key words for me, and the first time that I had probably drank better coffee brewed in a better way, in a far smaller container than I was ever used to drinking coffee in.
Yep.
The first thing that hit me was acidity. Right. So like, and not like in a bad way. First of all, I was like, as it was like, okay, one, this doesn't even taste like coffee to me in some ways, because I was used to the really bitter type concept. And I'm like, this has some acidity to it. There's some fruitiness to it. And so like, because I had already had my palate sharpened up on the beer side a little bit. So I just wasn't like a blind taster, but it was a big deal. Talk to me a little bit about that role of acidity in coffee. And like, is that like, is it always a good thing? Should it always be like, should there be a range of acidity in various coffes? What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, short answer is there is no right answer to that question.
Okay.
Like that's the short answer. So you have acidity and bitterness playing different roles in coffee, and that acidity could be coming from a multitude of different areas. So it still goes back to the farm originally. So if you have, that the volcanic soil gets a lot of attention right now. And all of our Nicaraguan coffee is in that soil. And we're working on some Guatemalan that's in that soil. And so that will naturally produce a less acidic cup of coffee, and not a bad thing. Like acid, people are kind of scared of acid at this point, in some ways. But again, if I leave that coffee lighter and it's not as darkly roasted, or, leave it at a light roast, not a medium roast, you will leave more of an acidic taste in that bean. So it's the original green bean and also the roast level. Yeah. So if I want to kill acid and I'm like, I have these stomach issues and I can't have acidic coffee, which is becoming somewhat popular. Yeah. You want like a low acid coffee. You do want, a darker medium to dark roasted coffee to take some of that acidity out. And then continuing down the coffee train, then when you brew it, you can also brew it in a way that dampens that. And so cold brew is the least acidic, and it's because it's lukewarm cold water brewed over 24 hours or shorter or longer. But that process just produces a very low acid cup of coffee. On the flip side, if you hit that with high pressure, high temperature, then the acidity spikes a bit. So you have three different layers that the acidity can be affected by.
Yeah. Are you a cold brew guy, or is that dependent as well? Like, because I get it. I
will order cold brew. Yeah. The idea of like brewing cold brew, I've just never gotten there. I'm like, espresso is kind of how I got into coffee. Yeah. I made a sarcastic video recently about like, just espresso people are unique. They're very opinionated. We've pulled many bad shots. We've had many good shots. We're spending way too much money on equipment. It is, don't get into espresso unless you want a hobby. Yeah. It's a way to make coffee, but it's not, it's like the worst way to make coffee in so many ways. Cold brew is a great way. It's like super forgiving, but you have to think ahead and then have it ready to go. So like you can't brew it on Sunday morning and drink it Sunday morning.
Yes.
You can, make it Sunday, drink it Monday. So if you're a planner, great, make some cold brew, try it out. People love it, especially for the low acid piece. It's a very smooth in the beer comparison. Like, there's a lot of like Guinness similarities that people pull out. where
Mhm.
it's like, oh, it's
Mhm.
just like a smooth, just so smooth and creamy.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so that's where, yeah, there's like really just two extremes on acid. It sounds like the coffee you drank. I'm curious, do you remember like where, like what coffee, like do
It
you have any
was it
memory
was
of?
just okay, so, like, honestly, what it was is I was probably at a little I was probably at, like, a little coffee shop in, like,
Yeah.
Grand Rapids or something,
Mhm.
and my gut wants to say, like, it was like a lighter roast,
Yep.
Ethiopian bean, and it was, like, blueberry or something like that, and it wasn't,
Yep.
like, flavored, you know what I mean?
No,
But,
no,
like,
no,
they
no.
it
I know
had, like,
completely. Yeah.
berry notes to it
Yeah.
and
Did they
whatnot.
like, did they make you a pour over like right there? Or was it like a shot
Oh
espresso? Or how did
gosh.
they make the coffee?
I don't I don't remember off the top.
It could have been a pour over or just
It
a
could be,
normal
yeah, it
drip,
could be
but
pour over.
yeah.
That was gonna be my guess that it was pour over.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Like if you're at like a really, that is what I'll say. If I'm like at a coffee shop and I want to like really experience a coffee and
Mhm.
there's not like a huge line behind me, because if you do this and there's a line behind you, like everyone's gonna hate you. Um, like if I have time, I'll say like I'll be like, oh, I'll just ask the person there, like, what coffee are you excited about? And can I just have a pour over of
Yeah.
something crazy? And
Yeah.
like maybe they
Yeah.
have it, maybe they don't. You'll figure it. Like, you know which coffee shops want to do this for
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you're gonna pay $6. And I'm like,
Yeah.
that's fine. I just want to taste it.
Yes.
Like this happened, yeah, like a month ago. I was at like a new place. Um, but it's interesting you say that, because I almost brought this up because I was thinking about this pre-podcast, but it's um yeah, like coffee notes and coffee flavors. If you ever get like a strong blueberry taste, like
Mhm.
strong blueberry taste, odds are it's, Ethiopian coffee. Like there's
Mm.
just something that origin. Again, someone knows more than I do about this,
Mhm.
but
Mhm.
it, you just get blueberries right in the face, like every
Yeah.
time. And
Yeah.
so one of my favorite espresso roasts had 40% Ethiopian in it, and it just,
Mhm.
man, it's good. It's probably my favorite origin, but
Mhm.
it's also the country that coffee's from. And so
Mhm.
because of that, you have all these plants that have cross-pollinated, and so
Mhm.
you will get coffees out of that country that exists nowhere else in the world. And
Mhm.
so like missionaries and Dutch merchants moved coffee plants all over the coffee belt,
Yeah.
but Ethiopia is where you get some crazy stuff. Like
Sure.
yeah, there's a story of like the super duper coffee nerds just like hiking into the jungle and like finding a coffee plant and like
Yeah.
harvesting every single cherry off that plant,
Yeah.
and then going back and drying it out, roasting it and tasting it and being like, well, we found the greatest Ethiopian coffee of all time,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
here's this
Yeah.
documentary about how we found it. And like they're just in the middle of the woods, like
Yeah.
it's there's it not a farm, it's just in the woods.
Sure. So, do you know, is there, I'm assuming this is the case because with hops, so I could take like a really well-established hop like Cascade,
Mhm.
grown in the Pacific Northwest here. It's very much a, kind of citrus, grapefruity
Mhm.
kind of thing, maybe some citrus zest or something like that. But you can take you can they grow in rhizomes. I don't know if you know or not, but anyways, so they grow in rhizomes. So you could take a cutting off of that and then grow it somewhere else, and it's
Oh
going
yeah.
to express differently because of terroir, right?
Mhm.
It is, I'm assuming coffee is a similar
Yeah,
thing.
same thing. Yep.
Regions
The
are
soil
known
really
for
matters.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
It's like
yeah.
the most common comparison is like any wine. Like
Sure.
wine and coffee are just insanely similar.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
um,
Yeah.
yeah.
Do you struggle with I have it is Japanese beetle season here. Apparently all winter has been, but it's like 72 degrees right now. And one time I thought I saw, we get these big disgusting stink bugs and their
Yep.
arms just hang. They look like a wasp, like a lazy wasp
Oh
flying
wow.
around.
That's a big
I
stink
thought
bug.
I thought it was one of those, but it wasn't. I have Japanese beetles flying around me. So
That's exciting.
part of my distraction.
It's okay. I don't see them. We have stink bugs here in Pittsburgh, but my funny bug story is that we have a lot of ladybugs.
Yeah.
On our house right now. I
Yeah.
have no idea why. Someone knows why there's ladybugs. Do they like siding? Do they like live in siding? I was like,
But I'll tell you
there's
this,
so
it's
many
disgusting.
ladybugs.
Yeah. And
Why?
I think
Like-
they're Japanese beetles. That's what I have. But no, but this is what I'm saying. The ones I saw a thing that was saying there's one that looks like ladybugs, but they're not. And then they eat ladybugs and they're terrible. And disgusting. So I mean, I'm kind of an insect guy. You know what I mean? if I'm peeling back another layer of expertise here on the channel,
beetles.
Clearly, I'm a bug guy.
Beetle guy.
But I'm a beetle
He's a
guy.
big beetle guy.
So obvious. Okay, so we have terroir differences. So there's kind of this conversation now, and we touched on it a little bit, where there's ways of handling coffee just for coffee's sake, right? The cold brew, doing a hot side process, sometimes involving pressure, right? All interesting stuff. So you had said something earlier when we were discussing this, that everybody wants the fresh bag of coffee smell. Okay. And so like when I'm getting ready to make, you had asked me a question via email, and I'm sorry I didn't respond to it. You're talking about like, how would you approach coffee with an imperial stout, coffee and beer? And we can bust into that a little bit right now. It's one of the reasons that I wanted to be able to have you on, is to kind of give myself and other people just more of an understanding of what this raw material is, and kind of what it goes through, right? What that process is. So, every time I make a coffee beer, I want that coffee beer to smell like the bag of coffee that you bust into, right? Because to me, that's like the thing. Like that's the most beautiful thing, like that big aromatic off of it, right? It's huge. And it's so difficult to achieve in the beer. Now, beer has other things going on. So typically on the brewing side of things, whenever you want to be delivering an adjunct or non-traditional element to a beer, I typically want doing that as late in the process as possible. Okay, so I don't necessarily want to be having active fermentation with coffee, because I'm going to be pushing off, I'm going to be gassing off aromatic stuff like that. So a lot of times you'll see people utilizing a cold steep. So they'll get the beer essentially finished. So it's cold, might even be carbonated, might even be clear or clarified at this point. But they will bag up coffee, either coarsely ground, whole bean. Sometimes they'll circulate it.
It just sounds like cold brew.
It's cold brew, but with a couple of caveats. pH is different. pH of the liquid is lower. So that pH of your beer should at least be 4.5 or under. So that's relatively acidic as the base liquid. There's alcohol in play. Obviously. And there is pressure, because that tank, if you're in like kind of a finishing packaging tank, that tank is going to be at least 10 to 12 psi. Or a little bit less than a bar for those international listeners. So some of the places that I've seen that have some of the tastiest coffee beers, I used to work at a place called Sonder, and I absolutely love. They do a Kolsch, so it's a German style ale that's kind of golden in color, like pale golden. It's super crushable. Like it's just an all day drinking beer. But they do a coffee beer with it, and so but the aroma on it is just gorgeous, big, fresh, open bag of coffee. But yeah, so those are
like how they get to that point. Like how do they make it so aromatic? Is that secret?
It's a good I mean, it's always a question of volume. You know what I mean? Like you do need. I don't remember anything off the top of my head, and my old boss would probably hate me if I did remember off the top of my head. So Chase,
Well, that's why
don't
I was
worry
like,
about it. I
right,
don't
that's why I was
remember.
like, maybe you don't tell everybody.
But, yeah, he's
Here's all their
not
secrets
always
for how they
big
make
on
their
that.
beer.
He's not always big on that. But you know, and I've seen things go a couple different ways. I started using there's actually a blog post from a guy named Scott Janish, Janish.
Okay.
In his blog on it, he's a pro brewer. He's written a book on like these more modern hazy IPAs that are out now. But he has a blog which is really much more akin to like mini research papers because they're full of citations. They're all research based. Super smart guy.
Mm.
But he was talking about the interplay between coffee and beer. So I would recommend that to you and to anybody that is interested in that. Check out Scott Janish's blog on coffee and beer. But he was doing like a coarse grind, like a blend of coarse grind and whole bean. So if I were to talk to you about a cold brew technique, and I just took, and again, I'm just riffing on crazy stuff. So if it's not in your wheelhouse, that's fine. If I made a cold brew that was built solely off of whole bean coffee, the same weight ratio, obviously we're talking a surface area difference. But if I took the same bean, same volume, same weight of bean, same volume of water, same amount of time, is there anything magic in the fact that I'm utilizing a whole bean as opposed to a crushed bean, or are we just talking about a difference in extraction time?
It would just affect the extraction time.
Yes.
I mean, it's just time. It's like, well, just to extract any flavor out of that bean will take. How long do you typically, brew or steep if you, let's say,
if you're doing it on the cold side, and you have and so cold side, so the beer is actually like at packaging temperatures or serving temperatures, so it's like between 32 to 0 C or 32 F, up to like 38 F, and you can convert the C. All of my C people out there, but so it's gonna be happening cold, and typically what we'll do is we will try to bag it up loosely in a food grade bag that I can sanitize. And then I'm gonna, again, you want some permeability. You want to be able to flow through that, so you just don't want it packed tight, right?
No, that's really,
and then people will sometimes they will bubble CO2 through it, maybe a little bit more gentle way of turning that tank over, because in my mind I'm always worried about stratification. So like am I just extracting, because if I have a tank where my liquid column is 12 feet high and I just have bags of coffee laying on the bottom of this thing, in my mind I have to move that coffee. I have to move that liquid in order to get that homogeneous, because I would be, with no flow, I just feel like it's just going to reside on the bottom of the tank.
It's because like you've taken away so many variables of like let's say like the brewing process. Like you've taken out grinding, you've taken out temperature. So you just have time at that point.
Yes.
So I guess my question is, if you were doing it normal way with coarse ground, how long is that steeping for? Like a day?
I would say you'd probably be tasting at 24, 48 hours. And then making sure that container, that vessel is homogeneous. You know what I mean?
Because a bag would need like double, if not more, like time to, like whole beans would need way more time just to get it. I mean, I've never tried this, but it just, I'm like,
it would require, it makes sense. It makes sense.
You have like no science there. But the other piece I'm thinking about, do you want the coffee to be degassing CO2? Was that a pro or a con?
It wouldn't be it wouldn't be a con, okay? Because
Because
on the beer side, O2 post fermentation,
yeah,
post the start, pretty much the start of active fermentation, O2 is 99% of the times a massive enemy. So yeah, talk to me about what
so like
you're talking about on the
CO2.
CO2 side.
Yes, like CO2 is okay. Like, so if you had the coffee beans giving off a bunch of CO2, you wouldn't mind.
I wouldn't sweat that personally from that standpoint. That wouldn't be an issue.
Okay. So I'm thinking just to create activity. So like if we're
Mhm.
looking to not stir it and create activity in this
Mhm.
container of cold liquid,
Yeah.
you would roast the coffee pretty dark
Uh-huh.
because you at that point you're not going to get any like coffee notes. Like there's not going to be like there might be blueberry actually, but if you took
Sure.
like an Ethiopian and like roasted it dark, you still might get some blueberry, but odds
Sure.
are fire will destroy it.
Yeah.
If you took it right off roast,
Yeah.
like within as soon as it's cooled down, so you wouldn't want to add like hot coffee beans, right?
Yep.
Like hot coffee beans would be bad, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
like you would be taking the coffee beans directly off roast, throwing them in a bag
Mhm.
that can breathe a little bit, and
Mhm.
you throw that in the freezer, or you just try to get those cold as quickly as possible,
Mhm.
and then immediately put them into this container, this
Yeah.
vat. What do you call it? Like a vat?
Bright tank, that would be a tank, a
A
bright
tank.
tank at that point, or
So
fermenter, yeah.
then you throw those coffee beans in a tank. They're going to degas extremely in 24 hours. And then over the next
So there's a lot of
7
CO2
days,
expression coming out of those
a
roasted
ton of
beans.
gas coming off. Yeah.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
like, I'm curious if that's the only way to do this, because then the gas coming off would, create space within the coffee beans even to move liquid around a little bit
Yeah, yeah,
in this like weird theoretical
yeah,
situation that we're concocting.
yeah,
Then I would, if I was playing with this, I would take something darkly roasted immediately off of roast and throw
mhm,
it in the
yeah,
tank and see what happens.
yeah,
Because then like the CO2 degassing might help. Maybe that's
yeah,
the smell
yeah,
that you smelled from the last
yeah.
coffee.
I do know that they got some locally roasted,
Right,
pretty
like
darn
fresh
freshly
coffee. Right.
roasted stuff. Yeah, yeah,
Like if you had an agreement like where it's like, hey, I need this coffee. It's hitting the tank at 10 a.m. this day. I
yeah,
need it can't be roasted any later than 10 a.m. the day before,
yeah,
because that would give it enough time to cool. I mean, heck, even the night before, give it the
yeah,
night to cool off and then throw it in the morning. That's what I would play with.
absolutely.
You could also crush the like you don't have to. There's also this like, well, what if you didn't coarse grind it and more just like crushed it?
Yeah,
like you
yeah,
like you did. If you look up big coffee grinders, there's this is an oversimplification, but there's like, two flat burrs spinning, and the distance
mhm,
between those flat burrs is how big the coffee thing is coming out. Before those, often in big grinders, there's what's called like a breaker, or like a coffee breaker auger or whatever. That
uh-huh,
auger, if you run it by itself, will break up the coffee beans.
yes,
And so part of me is like, don't grind it coarse, but if you took this fresh coffee and just broke it,
yeah,
and then tossed it into sacks and threw it in, you get something. It'd be pretty wild.
sure, sure,
So that's what
sure.
I have for you on this theoretical journey of
I like it. I like it.
all roasted coffee beans.
Well, listen, we're gonna wrap up here real quick. I did want to give you a chance to let people know where to get your coffee. I know you
Yeah.
do some charitable work with your coffee through the brand is Knight's Coffee.
Yeah, Knight's Coffee. Yeah,
Yeah, go ahead and tell us a little bit about that.
yeah, sure. So the Good Coffee Company, we basically realized that all of us had a similar desire to give back to seminarians across the country. So we created a brand that just does that. So we take all we know about coffee and producing an amazing cup of coffee and just put it into this extremely philanthropic brand. So Nice Coffee, donates all of its profits to specific seminarians in need across the U.S. So
I love it.
It's very simple. You get great coffee from Catholic coffee farms, and the profit goes directly to your diocese. So that was something that, as we were working with the Good Coffee Company, and we were setting up all these things, we just saw this pattern of like, we have these Catholic coffee farms, and we have these consumers in the States that want this. And then whenever we looked at the market, it didn't exist yet.
Yeah.
And so there was this point that it's just like, this would be irresponsible for us to not give that consumer a brand that aligns with exactly what they want. And so, we made that the end of last year, but awesome. The Good Coffee brand is in retail stores in Pittsburgh. It's online. Knights Coffee is online, and your local Knights Council might be selling it soon. So keep your eyes out.
I also got to tell you, there is a Coffee Pittsburgh connection with my wife and I. I fell in love with my wife at a coffee shop in Pittsburgh, and this was now okay. So now this was 1997.
Okay, so there was only like 2 coffee shops.
There was the one that we used to go to used to be called Java 13, and I don't think it's probably not there anymore.
Yeah, I don't know.
we used to go out. We used to go out because my wife was from Cleveland, and like I don't know when the last time, if you ever have been to Steubenville. Steubenville is not like. There's more going on in Pittsburgh than there is in Steubenville, especially 25 years ago.
Yep.
We would go out there. We would go out there like every night for a period of time just to go out, be in a city. And
in a city. Steubenville's not a city. I don't want to offend anybody in Steubenville, but it's not a. Of course not. It's not like a city.
But no, and so that was when I first started pretending to enjoy coffee to impress a woman.
Yep.
But Pittsburgh, we have some fond memories connected with all of that. So yeah, that's where my wife and I fell in love.
It's a great town.
City.
Pittsburgh
That's right.
Pittsburgh is a great town. I mean,
absolutely.
Simply put.
Absolutely. Well, listen, where can we find you online? You had mentioned some coffee content that you're doing, and some of your other brands. Please shout those out.
Yeah. My Instagram is easy. Just my name, just Joe Henkels. And I put most things up on there. So we have a series running right now called Spicy Sips, and just started making them last summer. And some of them are sarcastic and some of them are true, and you will learn a lot if you don't know much about coffee, but we will put some up there, and then the individual brands will also get their own little introductions and updates. I found that Instagram is mostly what I operate on, and I am on YouTube, but the content is shared between YouTube and Instagram. So
yeah.
Easy.
Me too. At this point, pretty much my long form stuff goes on there, but everything I'm doing is short form, with the exception of that. There is some more stuff that I'm going to be doing, but as of right now, you do what time allows. But Joe, listen, I wanted to thank you for making the time. This was a lot of fun. And I'm just really appreciative, man.
Yeah. Thanks for having me, Adam.
Absolutely. Well, listen, everybody, next week I am going to be Tuesday. I realize I hit her up on this next Tuesday, I think, is St. Patrick's Day. Here I am in my green shirt right now. But I asked an industry professional, the wonderful Leslie Shore. You may have been seeing her on live lunches over on Instagram and on YouTube. She and her podcast partner Shan Thompson, who friend of the podcast. Leslie's going to be on next week. It's actually going to be 7 p.m. We're going to be talking malt. We're going to be talking kind of beer culture stuff. She's a smart and talented brewer. I'm looking forward to that conversation. As always, make sure to show love to my sponsors out there, because they pay me, and then I can feed my children. So that's always appreciated. So yeah, as always, I always appreciate all your support. Love to you all out there. Be good to your people, and we will see you next time. Joe, stick around and just for a second after we jump off the stream, brother. All right?
Absolutely. Yep.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Cheers, everybody.
Adam makes beer. Adam makes beer. That's the story clear. Now give it up for the man of the year. Adam makes beer. That's right. Adam makes beer.